All right. I think we're on. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Sophia Treyger, radical pleasurist and intimacy coach, and I am so excited to be here with Sean, and I am just making sure that we are actually live and public, and I just did that on my Facebook page, so I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good, Sean, so you are probably good to go to share, and
Okay.
this is my friend Sean, and I don't know, like I'm supposed to be looking at the camera, but I want to be looking at him too. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know. But this is my friend Sean. Like he's right here. I'm pointing to him.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're so excited to try this new thing called interviewing on Facebook and just see how it goes. And we're going to have fun today. Yeah, just, is it okay if I give a little background on how we met?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Do you need any assistance on the sharing piece, or do you want to like ixnay on that?
Actually, what I am noticing, and this is fun. Oh, actually, it's reducing now, but there was an echo. I could hear myself talking, and now it's not doing it. So maybe
Okay.
that won't be a thing. I was just noticing that.
Cool.
But no, feel free to do your thing.
Yeah, you can mute on your computer if that starts to happen, but hopefully both our audiences are checking us out. Okay, cool. So how Sean and I met last year, almost exactly a year ago, we were in a business program together that was virtual, and then it culminated in a live event, and Sean and I met at this live event and we connected, and I've been following what Sean's been up to for the past year, and I love what his work and his gifts have evolved into. And as soon as I saw that he was working with men, pretty much doing exactly what I do with women, I was like, we need to connect and we need to chat it up and compare notes. So Sean's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's just hop on and have fun. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you want to add anything to that? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts. Right now, I'm like drifting in this space of curiosity and like intrigue and some excitement. This is the first time that I've actually done a Facebook Live, and I'm really excited to be doing it with you, Sophia. We did meet over a year ago and been like staying connected throughout that time and witnessing each other's journeys and kind of the unfoldment and blossoming of our own work and gifts and mission in the world, and to see to like be really excited about how we kind of come at the same mission from two different angles and serving the two different sides of the people on opposite sides, so to speak, of that mission. So it's really exciting to be here and to like continue unfolding and understanding our own work through the lenses of each other's work. So I'm really excited to be like sharing in that with you.
Yeah, totally. I echo that. In just the few conversations that you and I have had, I've learned so much about the male species, which I need help with. And I know that there's people out there. And if you want to make a comment, please shout out, give us hearts. I don't even know if you can give us hearts with this app, but give us hearts, make a comment, say amen, raise your hands, and just let us know when you're totally vibing with us. And yeah, like I know a lot about women. Sisterhood is so important to me in creating that community. And so I work with women, so I've gotten to know women very well. And then I was like, I don't actually know men that well. And just in having conversations with you has helped me reflect on like the ways that I have been pushing away relationship and pushing away men because I'm coming at it from my point of view, from a woman's point of view, which is kind of silly. And I think that and you can speak to this, that men do the same kind of thing where they're maybe expecting a woman to behave and think and react in the same way that a man does.
Yeah, I start laughing because I think on a lot of core levels, like men and women have a lot of similarities. We're kind of boxed into these ways that get us acting in a certain way early on, and then that just kind of unfolds through over time. But nonetheless, those unfoldments do happen, and I was kind of laughing because I'm reminded of some of my clients and some of the times when they're so logical about what they're trying to do, and they just don't understand why it's not the response that they're getting from a feminine counterpart is not as like rooted in the rational logic, but rooted in like some emotional heart-centered space, and how difficult that is sometimes for them to like accept and then to move into a new state of being. And it's really like I think the foundational piece for a lot of the work that I do is, and it's my own work as well, is that the most beneficial space for us to be living from is our hearts. And that doesn't matter if we're man, woman, or other, whatever our gender is. We are a synthesis of masculine and feminine energies. And within that, like the center point of all truth within us is more in our hearts than it is in our heads. And even in our bodies, our bodies are amazing for teaching us or giving us the insight into things that are happening. So it's like that sense of being able to be in our hearts more across the board is something that I really want to bring to the table for the men that I work with, because it allows us to access those levels of, coming into our own feminine and masculine. And in doing so, we can connect more to the feminine and masculine in our counterparts or in another human.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you're bringing up the masculine and feminine, because I talk about it too, but I notice that people aren't understanding. Like even the women that I talk to, and sometimes I stray away from that language because I sort of get like deer in headlights. And so if we can break it down into, like we're talking to a 5-year-old about the whole masculine and feminine energy so that women and men understand it on a very concrete level, I think that more people would be able to relate and not jump right to the whole gender thing, because people are like, masculine and feminine, don't tell me to be feminine, things like that. And I know that I've had resistance in my life with femininity, but now I see it in such a different way that it's not about gender roles at all, or about telling me what I'm supposed to do or what a man is supposed to do. And it's more about how my state of being and how I want to live my life and how I want to like literally dance and move in the world. So let's break it down for our peeps, like what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, this came up in one of my men's meetings the other day, and I remember halting that discussion a little bit because I was like, this is a huge conversation, and it's like there's so many pieces and avenues to it. There's so many expressions of the masculine and feminine, and there's so many misconceptions. And that's where it really becomes like a really tricky thing, because there's a lot that are cultural norms, and then you're trying to dig underneath all of those cultural norms and find what is the root and the meat of it, And so the simplest way, and some of the ways that I've really enjoyed kind of perceiving the feminine and masculine in just a really abstract form, is like, the feminine is the creative, fluid, moving, constantly like just doing its own thing energy. And the masculine is like the structure, is like the space that is created for the feminine to move within. And I think it was David Data who said that, like a good analogy for this.
Data is like a trigger word for some people.
That's fine. They can be triggered.
I'm fine with it. I like it. I like that.
I am not responsible for other people's triggers.
Right.
And they totally have valid, their triggers are totally valid for them. I'm the kind of person that likes to take knowledge and information from everyone. David Data has triggered me in the past, and you know, there's a lot of pieces there. But one of the great things that I felt like he said was that the feminine is like the river, and the masculine is like the banks of the river. It's kind of guiding that energy and directing it in a certain direction. So,
and if I can add to that a little bit,
please do.
The realm of emotions and feeling is the feminine. Any expression of emotion, and this is something that has been coming up a lot for the women in my sisterhood and the women I work with, is this relationship to anger, and like thinking that anger isn't okay, and feeling shame about it, and then guilt, and like all these layers of emotions. And it's like, it's just one kind of expression among many expressions that we need to allow ourselves to feel and then express. So the feminine is emotion, just like all that creative stuff. And a way that I like to look at it in terms of how the feminine and masculine is in all of us, in every single person, in every single object, and everything that exists, is that, you know, you and I are entrepreneurs, we're business people. I know a lot of business people, and even people who aren't business people. If you're working every day and you're getting up in the morning and you're going to work, then you're tapping into your masculine energy. If you have some kind of focus and purpose, then you're in masculine energy. You have to be, otherwise you couldn't get anything done. So it's a really important energy. And then the feminine is the flowing, like just the flowing through the day and creativity. And you need that too. Otherwise you're living a really boring existence. So both energies exist in us, and we need both. It's just that we've, for lack of a better word, bastardized it through cultural discourse and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest key there that you kind of touched on is this sense of like needing both. We literally create life by the merging of a masculine and feminine, by the merging of sperm and egg, and masculine and feminine, yin and yang, light and dark. It's like, that's how life is created. And somehow once we move through our lives, we're kind of taught that men are masculine and women are feminine, and that you can't be both. But I definitely am I'm in the camp that that our greatest gift is the merging, and our ability to dance between our masculine and feminine at any given time. And I do this a lot with my own clients, and with just in my life, you know, like being willing to soften into compassion, or not that compassion is a feminine, forgive the dogs barking, by the way, but not that feminine, not that compassion is feminine, but like this idea that I can be soft and fluid, but I can also be really grounded and fierce, and create a really solid container. And both of those have their place, and both of those have benefit to a given situation. And having access to both of those within me, and the whole array, the whole spectrum of potentiality within this, gives me more tools and more skills and more ability to move through my life in a good way. And I think that's what the power of allowing ourselves to access all of ourselves, that's what it does. It just gives us more skills, more ability to live a full and rich and fulfilled life.
That's so beautifully said. That's really, really beautifully said. And what I'm hearing is you giving permission to the men that you work with, and to all of us who are listening right now, giving permission for us to tap into what it means to be ourselves in any given moment, and to release shame and guilt around any of that. And just to say, in this moment, this is the dance I'm going to lead in this moment, or I'm going to follow in this moment. I'm going to surrender and trust in this moment. I'm going to be really driven in this moment. And we all need permission for that.
Yeah.
Right?
I noticed.
Anybody agree with this? Does anybody need permission to be themselves here? Because if you do, you got it. We're giving blanket permission to be completely yourself. And please, that's what we want. We want everyone to be themselves in this world, as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people.
Mm-hmm.
Just be your awesome, freaky self.
Yeah. Yeah. I could continually give myself permission like that every day. I noticed when I heard you saying that, I could like feel the breath welling up in me, because it's like, oh, that's always what I'm working with as well. I'm always working with my own willingness to be my full self. And it's like, I think the work that we do in the world is like our work, you know, and that's where we get our magic from, is like going into the trenches and going into the caves and like bringing back the gold and sharing it. And it's like, when I heard you saying all that just now, I was just like, oh yeah,
I heard
I always
it.
have to keep remembering to give myself permission to be me fully, and that's my magic, and that's the beauty. And like you said, like everyone in the world, maybe they need to hear it from another person, in terms of like, you have permission to be all of you. And that's actually what we want. That's what magnetizes us. That's what brings people together. And yet at the end of the day, they have to become okay with that within themselves.
Absolutely.
They have to give themselves that permission. And I think that's the biggest challenge. It's not that we fear other people. It's like we project our own fears onto other people and say, that person's going to judge me if I show up all the way. But what's really happening is it's like our own inner critic that's like nagging at us a little bit. So we just project it onto somebody else and play safe and play small.
Yes.
And miss out on opportunities to feel liberated and free and alive. And it's like, the more you start tapping into that, the more you like move down that pathway, the less you can allow yourself to live any other way.
Oh man, that feels so good. I really feel like you and I are twins, because those words are the words that I use when I'm talking, when I'm doing my lives, when I'm writing, when I'm with my clients. And that's why you and I are here, right? Like right now, this is our dharma, which is to, first of all, for us to show up fully in whatever space or whatever state we're in, and to model and to inspire, right? Like, hopefully.
Yeah.
I know that we do. I know that we are now. And yeah, like I see myself as the wind for women's wings to help them really show up in the world. Nice. Like, yeah, it's all about, you know, not being a pleaser, and it's all about getting out of toxic relationships and stuff like that. But really, it's about showing up in the world in any way that they want to, in any way that they feel that they are leaders. And if they don't know they're leaders, by the time they're done working with me, they are owning that they're leaders.
Nice.
In one way or another. So there was this one comment, I don't know if you noticed, my friend Lanny said, "I love this explanation of feminine and masculine energies. Never really understood it in that way." Yay, success.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, keep posting your comments. If something's not making sense, let us know. We'll try to break it down as best as we can. So let us know. So if it's okay, I want to ask you some questions about you, like you in your life, and how you got to the point where you are, especially in your love relationship. Is that cool?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
The first question that I had, and again, this all came to me while I was meditating, because I was like, what am I going to talk to Sean about? I don't know. But anyway, so what I was curious about is, what state of mind were you both in when you met, when you and your beloved met?
Well, I don't think I can speak to her state of mind. I would be assuming in terms of that. But I know for me, I was, the word liberated came up. I was feeling really alive and really impassioned, and really willing to like show up in a bigger way than I had in a while. And I was exploring that, and I was exploring myself. We specifically met at Ecstatic Dance, and I had, kind of an experience of being aware of her And I approached her afterwards and told her the story of having like thought of her. I hadn't seen her in months, and I thought of her in that space. I was like stretching on the floor, and I hadn't seen her in probably 6 months. And she just popped into my head, and we'd never even met. You know, we'd just seen each other on the floor a few times, and she just showed up in my mind. And I thought, well, that's interesting. You know, I haven't seen that person in a while. That's provocative. And so I started dancing, not really thinking anything of it. And then about an hour into the dance, I look over, and there she was, you know, dancing near me, and we both smiled at each other. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so afterwards I was like, just feeling open, and I just wanted to go share that with her. I had no real intentions. I just wanted to like, just chat with her for a minute and be like, wow, this something in me knew you were here without me knowing you're here, you know, and I don't even know you. So I want to bring that up. And sure enough, I, you know, kind of just presented that idea to her. I was just like, hey, I want to tell you this story. And she later on kind of like shared that seemed kind of brave or something, like kind of like for me to like vulnerably state that I had this experience. So, you know,
yeah, was that vulnerable for you? Was that a place of vulnerability to state what was going on in your mind and your heart in that moment?
I think that is what vulnerability is in a lot of ways. For me in that moment, it didn't necessarily feel like a stretch or something. I was just sharing me, and I was just like connecting. So it didn't feel like, I didn't feel nervous about it. I just wanted to share it, and then things unfolded. So I mean, I think that's like something to like look at for a moment, because it's like when we start being really okay with ourselves and we start really showing up for ourselves, then our ability to share more of ourselves is readily available. It's like when I'm looking at all the nooks and crannies of my own shadow, then I can show up and speak to a person fully availably, because I'm not worried about what they might see that I don't already know about. So it's
God.
Yeah. So it's like, I already know about all these pieces.
I hope you all are taking notes. That's huge. It's so freaking huge, Sean, right? Like, doesn't this come up so much with people and men in your life? Like, I know it comes up with women, where it's like the biggest thing for them is fear of rejection and fear of failure and fear of abandonment for showing up who they are, because they give a shit about what other people are going to think. Like, they're going to find out some kind of secret about them. But if you already shine the light on your shadow and you're cool with it, and you're like in conversation with your inner critic, then what other people say and do doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so huge.
Or it at least matters a lot less. Because I think, you know, I don't think we're necessarily ever free of concern with others' judgments, but we are definitely less impacted by it. And the other thing is interesting, right? Like, you start thinking in terms of like, when people show up in relationship, or they're trying to engage in a relationship. So they show like all their best stuff and they hide all their shadow. And it's like, if somebody falls in love with that person, are they really falling in love with you? And I think that actually becomes some of the struggle, because it's like, the more we show our true parts, like all of our actual vulnerabilities, the more, if we do get rejected, that it does have like some impact, because we're showing more of ourselves. So it's kind of a catch-22. It's like we're working on ourselves and we're feeling more confident and clear and able to connect. And yet when we feel rejection, it might have a stronger impact in terms of that. But because we're already doing that work and we're loving ourselves and we're taking good care of ourselves emotionally and spiritually and energetically, all the lees, then suddenly we're not as impacted in terms of that, because we know our value as a human exists deep within us, and it's not anything that anybody else has the ability to affect. Right.
Where we less and less rely on the validation outside of us.
Right, validation.
And we can bounce back quicker instead of spiral into this dark place of like, oh, I am a piece of shit. I am not enough. You know, things like that. Like, it's a matter of bouncing back, because you're right, it doesn't go away. The inner critic doesn't never go. Thanks. My friend Lanny says we're awesome. Thank you. Please. Oh, by the way, y'all, you can share while we're doing this too. So just click on share, put it on your timeline so more people see. Yeah, the inner critic is never going away. And that's the first thing I tell my clients. I'm like, let me just make it easy for you. Inner critic doesn't go away ever for the rest of your life, unless you're a vegetable. Mm-hmm. It's the relationship you have with that voice and how quickly you bounce back to your wise, intuitive, wild self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a sense of like training that voice to be on your side, like realizing that you can like make friends with it in terms of teaching it to show you ways of improvement without bashing you as a human. It's like, for me, it's like, I always want to be improving, but when I'm doing that from a space of like, I'm not enough already, then it's not supportive and it's not really nourishing me. But if I can say I'm enough right now as I am, and I can be better, you know, those things together, it's like a both and, not an either or. And I think it's like my inner critic, he's a little brash sometimes, but most of the time now it's like I'm inviting him to show me like, how can we understand what is like, how can we be on the same team? Like I want to be on the same team as those parts of me and not feel like I'm fighting against pieces of me, because that doesn't feel good.
Yes. Yes. That's so true. It's not an against kind of energy. It's like, how can all of my parts integrate to help me live this life?
Yeah, there you go. Integration.
Integration is awesome.
Yeah.
So you pretty much answered my second question, which was, how did you prepare yourself for love to enter? And I think this is like exactly what you've been talking about is, you know, your relationship with your inner critic and feeling this liberation and feeling open. And I mean, just everyone, just to let you all know, like this is a daily practice. Like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. It's a daily practice. There's no, you know, quick pill for this. This is, you know, reversing decades of conditioning and indoctrination. So, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it to get on this train of self-awareness and self-love and self-compassion and all the things that we hear all the time. The preparation. Is there anything else, any other awesome words of wisdom in terms of how you prepared yourself?
Well, I wanted to mention too, like you said, it's like decades, but I would even go as far as like generations. You know, we've got like things in our DNA that are telling us, or, you know, we're doing a lot of work at this time, it feels like, not to get too out there, but that is really reshaping a lot of things in our own world that can affect how the generations to come experience the world and experience their lives and what they're born into. The air that they're breathing the moment they're born is very different than the air we were breathing. And hopefully it's continuing to better along the way. And the other piece I wanted to mention was like, there's this sense of preparation for love. And yet what that seems to be is like a preparation for the first little door opening. Because when you enter into what I call like a really congruent, like a deeply congruent relationship, it's not unicorns and rainbows. Like I've never known it to be like this super easy, amazing. It's just like we're on vacation all the time. It's actually work, you know, it's actually like we're engaging in a way that's opening up and shedding the struggles and the blockages and the walls that we've put up around our own love and our own vulnerabilities and our own willingness to show up fully and authentically in our relationship. So the preparation is like knowing that you're available for that first doorway. And then the rest of it is about knowing that you're continuing to make yourself available for all the other doors that you have to walk through as your relationship deepens and as your love grows and as your willingness to show up for each other is more enabled.
That's so beautiful. Tell us more about what you mean by congruent relationship.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are like, how do we know? Like, how do we know we're with the right person? How do we know this is the person that we need to be doing the work with, that it's going to be worth it to go through this to go through the pain and the struggle and the play and the bliss, like, you know, so what's your definition of congruent?
Well, a full definition of congruent, I think, is like everything is aligned. You know, my thoughts, words, actions, and deeds, they're all meeting together in the center line, in the center place. The question of whether this person is the right one to do that with, when you were saying that, how do we know? It's like, oh, we humans, we always want to know. We just want the facts. We want to know that it's the right thing. And it's not always like that, I don't think. And
that was my masculine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So we'll integrate the feminine and invite intuition into it. And, you know, I think, I mean, on a deep level, I believe that we attract what is at our level or what is pushing our level and our intentions. So especially if you witness that you're attracting like the same thing over and over, there's a reason for that. And that speaking to something in you that you haven't moved through yet, that is bringing you a certain type of experience, because that's how you break through things, as you meet that experience outside of yourself and you show up compassionately and you move through it in a good way. And suddenly you're not at that level anymore. But the more you're like, oh, I don't want that. And the same thing comes and you're like, I don't want that. And you're just pushing it away. You're literally pushing away a part of yourself, and you're not going to be able to evolve if you're not willing to look at those parts of yourself. So, a congruent relationship, in my opinion, is one where there's a sense of matched values in terms of our personal development. And I really look at, I think relationships in a lot of ways are a personal development platform. It's a space for us to learn about ourselves. There's no better mirror than our relationship for our own frailties and things that we need to work on. And so a congruent relationship is one that allows us to enter into those zones safely, and that we are both showing up. It's almost like it's more like a choice. How willing are you to be present to the difficulties and the tasks at hand, and how willing are you to show up for that person's needs, and how willing are they to show up for yours? Where's the communication at, and how much are y'all there for each other, in terms of not in a selfish way, like I'm doing this because I want something, but like I'm really holding space for you to do this work. You're holding space for me to do this work. And it just so happens that our work happens to like land right in the same zone. One of the things in my relationship is that early on, our triggers were triggering each other. So like trigger. And like, you know, we could have easily just been like, this is too much and just get out of there. But instead it was like, instead of pushing away, we decided to lean in. And the more we leaned into those places and recognized that we were given this amazing gift to work through our shit together, the more we were able to work through our shit together. So,
but it requires something, right? Because of course, like I've experienced trigger, but it requires, like you said, this leaning in. And I'm wondering what that looks like. Is that like there has to be this element of listening and like not being so wounded that there's this constant violation of boundaries. Like there can't be, I think there can't be this constant violation of boundaries. There has to be this like, yeah, we're triggering each other, but then we have to like stop, breathe, and say, okay, let me listen. You know, so what did the leaning in look like?
Well, it looks like a lot of things. I think for like, I'm imagining one scenario, and it was like in the moment it was really heated and there was a lot of pain and anger coming up. And, you know, when we're in those spaces, we're not usually in the calmest and most centered ability to show up. So there has to be a sense of like creating space without disconnecting. So it's like wanting to stay engaged, but maybe just get really quiet for a while. And so maybe you have to just stay in the same room while the emotions are flowing, not a word is spoken, and you just stay there and you stay present and you're showing that you're willing. You know, it's like this willingness to be there. And I'm not sure that there's like a specific, you know, process. I think what it is just like, yeah, that word willingness just really resonates for me. It's like a willingness to be there and to lean in, and to also know when to let your own shit go away for a minute. Like, I'm going to set mine aside so I can be really present to yours. Even though I'm noticing it's causing this other thing for me, I'm going to like go ahead and put that aside for just a minute and be really present for you and your process. And then that other will bring that back to you when the time is right. So it's this sense of like selflessness and willingness to show up for the other person, and trusting like that intuition to guide what that process looks like and whose turn it is to like go into it. And sometimes it's together, but sometimes it really looks like one holding space for the other.
Yeah, that's definitely necessary. Like, there can't be like, no, I need you to listen to me first. And there has to be somebody, like a reciprocation at different times of, all right, let me put, like you said, let me put it aside and just be that container for you.
Yeah. And there,
whatever.
Yeah. And one other piece to that is a good friend of mine brought in this perspective of like recognizing that the relationship is an entity of itself. So, you know, each person in it is their own person, and the relationship is a being as well. And when you look at it in terms of like what honors the relationship, then you can move your own stuff out of the way for a brief moment and recognize that that other person needs the support more in this moment. And it's like, I'm doing this for the relationship. Yeah.
I'm taking notes. I'm going to listen to this and I'm going to like bullet point it. I'm going to newsletter this. This is so amazing.
Send me the newsletter.
Of course.
I want the notes too.
Of course. Because there's just so many amazing nuggets in this. Oh, I love that. You're so right. I mean, duh. The relationship is its own entity. And then when it's like externalized and you're like thinking about nurturing that, then yeah, you can put your shit aside. It's so brilliant. That needs to be a big like reminder. Like it's bigger than the two people or more than two people, whatever, in the relationship. It's bigger than that. And it's so important for us to remember, because we get so deep in our wounding and it's like, I am so much pain and I need to be nurtured and held, and which is true. But we're also adults. We're not kids anymore. Like, we can parent ourselves, which is a really important piece, like being able to parent yourself. Gosh, I feel like we can go on and on forever.
Sure, we could. I'm imagining that there needs to be a nice masculine container.
I know, totally. So one thing is, y'all, if you really have been enjoying our conversation and feeling inspired, let us know. If you want us to come back and get together again, let us know. Like, we'll come back and we'll talk about more stuff, and let us know what you want us to talk about. I love questions. I imagine you love questions too.
Yes, I love connection and
interaction. We love coaching, but we also love receiving questions and knowing what it is that you all are thinking and what you need for you. And both of us work with, I mean, I know you work with a lot of single folks. I work with single women. So what is it that you need for us to brainstorm on? Because I'm realizing it's so much more fun to brainstorm with Sean. See, now I'm getting it with the pointing. It's so much more fun to brainstorm with Sean than to brainstorm on my own. So use us. Like, we're so happy to do this. I feel like we should wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah, this feels good.
So any parting words for our audience?
I think I just, well, I want to say that I've really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed being here with you, Sophia. I look forward to doing this a lot more. I think you're doing really great work in the world. And I think that this discussion, the greater discussion and the greater mission here, is so incredibly important. And the more we learn how to be better in our relationships, the more we learn to be more vulnerable, and the more we learn that it can be an inside out type of thing, the more I feel like these things ripple out into other areas of the world. Connection is like one of the basic things that we all want and need, and it's one of the ones that we have the hardest time with. So it's really important that we're doing this work, and I really appreciate you for continuing on that mission and for inviting me into this space to talk about it. And I also want to say for I work primarily with men, so any men out there that are feeling like you want to improve your relationships, whether you're single or in relationship, whatever that looks like, I offer a free breakthrough session. It's an hour long, and it's just to help you get really clear on what you want and what you need and what's blocking you from getting that, and give you a specific outline of steps to take in order to get to that place. So feel free to reach out to me, a private message or whatever, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you and have one of those sessions.
Yes. So Sean, what I would love for you to do is in the comments, put a link to schedule with you, or whatever contact information you want to leave, please leave it in the comments.
Sure.
And any, like, ladies, men, please refer to Sean, send him folks, because I know that women need these soulful, conscious men, more of them in our lives. And Sean's the one who's going to turn them into that. So no pressure. So Sean's going to leave his information, and feel free to reach out to him. So generous. Thank you so much. This has been so fun. Thank you for saying yes. And I'm really excited about us doing more collaboration. And anything y'all need, just reach out to us, reach out to Sean, and we'll do this again, because we already got a comeback.
Awesome. There we go. That's all I need is just one, and then we're doing it.
No, talking about outside validation, I need validation from Facebook. Okay, just saying. I need my validation from Facebook. I need the hearts. I need the likes. I need the comments. And we're going to come back. So have a beautiful day, everyone. Have a great day, Sean. Thank you so much.
You as well.
And
thank you.
We'll see you soon. Mwah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.